podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on Sunday, December 15th, 2019 on the Premier Networks. This is episode 1653. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform that scales as you grow. Get started today for free with a free $50 credit at do.co/twit. And by Brave. Brave is the browser reimagined. Switch now to get unmatched speed and privacy and stop trackers from following you. Save battery life and earn rewards by opting into privacy-respecting ads. Brave is free and easy to switch to. Go to brave.com/twit and switch to Brave today. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yes, it's Tech Guy time. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We've got your smartphones. We've got your smart watches, all that jazz, all the rigmarole, all those things that are changing our lives each and every day in mysterious and unknown ways. If you want to make them more known, this is the show for you. 8888 Ask Leo is the number to call. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you could still reach. Just use Skype out or something like that. You know, something that can call a phone number. Because it's a toll-free number in the U.S., it shouldn't cost you anything. 8888 Ask Leo. Reading about entropy. In statistical mechanics, entropy is an extensive property of a thermodynamic system. I think of entropy in a little bit more simple way. Entropy, to me, is the clock winding down. You know, the great clockmaker at the beginning of the universe wound us up, and now we're slowly winding down. And eventually, everything will become just a hum. All the energy will just be spread evenly throughout, thermodynamic equilibrium, evenly throughout the universe. And what the great effort of mankind, and nature too, really, has been to fight entropy, to organize instead of disorganize. And of course, it's an endless battle, isn't it? As everybody knows who hasn't cleaned their garage in a few years, entropy happens. Disorganization, thermodynamic equilibrium. It's always happening, and it's a constant battle. And the reason I was thinking about this, and of course it was the middle of the night last night, I woke up and I thought, entropy. That's the problem with the tech industry. I mean, if you think about it, tech, going right down to the fundamental technology, the chips that we use, the microprocessors, it's all about taking, random materials, star stuff, like sand, and which is what silicon is made of, sand, and turning it into, organizing it to turn it into something that does some amazing things. And that's what we're surrounded by, is these kind of miracles of organization. But just like a clock, it's winding down. And it's come to mind because I've noticed something in this year was a good year for entropy. With our operating systems, for instance, Microsoft with Windows and Apple with Mac OS and iOS, things started to fall apart, didn't they? It's like you built a beautiful wagon and you wanted to cross the country, but by the time you kind of got to the Sierra Mountains, the leather's brittle and breaking, the wheels are wobbly, the canvas has some holes in it, it's starting to fall apart. And you can try to keep, as the wagon's moving, you can try to repair it. But it's a hard thing to do, and sometimes when you fix something, it breaks something else. You tighten the straps on the harnesses, and then your seat gets loose. And that's what's happening right now in technology. We're at that stage when it was all shiny, bright, and new. It all fit flawlessly. It all worked beautifully. Well, it never really did. But we can look back with a little nostalgia and say, in the early days, things worked well. When you first design an operating system, it kind of does what you expect it to do. There's bugs, but it kind of works. But then over time, you add stuff, you tighten things, things start to wear out. And it all starts to go. It all starts to go, doesn't it? And then, at some point you can all die of dysentery. The whole thing just boom, it's gone. And I think we're at the stage where we got to think about this. Nobody in tech is saying, we got to start from scratch. When you're a programmer, sometimes after you write a program and it gets so complex and so messed up and it's so inefficient that the only thing to do is just throw it all away, crumple it all up, and throw it all away and start from scratch and take what you've learned, because you've learned a lot in the process, and make it better. And goodness, I would love to see us do that with our operating systems. I think really we would benefit if Microsoft would say, okay, good. We're at Windows 10, nice, but let's start over. Or Google said, Android, it's okay, but let's start over. Or Apple said, iOS, well, 13 is an unlucky number. Let's go back to 0 or 1 and start from scratch. A new, clean the blackboard off, go back to the drawing board and start from scratch. We would get a better system, right? And knowing now what we know, for instance, when we first designed Windows, as if I had anything to do with it, when Windows was first designed, we didn't know anything about ransomware, malware, viruses. It was before then, honestly. And so security wasn't built into it. Same thing with the internet. I once asked Vince Cerf, who's widely called the father of the internet. He devised the protocol that the internet runs on, TCP/IP. I once asked him, if you were going to do it all over again, would you do it differently? He said, yeah. I'd build in encryption from the start. Because when the internet was designed, everybody, was kind of wide-eyed and optimistic, and we were all just saying, oh, this is going to be great. And we didn't really think about some of the bad things that could happen. We didn't think about, wouldn't it be nice to have privacy? And you can't have privacy if you don't have good cryptography, because that's what keeps your stuff from prying eyes. Only you and the intended recipient can see it. That's a key to privacy. That's what Mr. Cerf was saying. We should have put that in at the beginning. We didn't think about that. Google is working on a new operating system they call Fuchsia. It's a terrible name. I feel like it's an intentionally terrible name to just distract everybody. Pay no attention. I think they want this to replace Android. And I'll be honest, the only reason they're doing it is because Android was based on Java, which is owned by, it was created by a company called Sun, which was then bought by a big company you may have heard of called Oracle. No one knows why Oracle is still in the world. Talk about entropy. Oracle is one of the most successful software companies in the world. They make database programs used by big business that long ago should have been replaced. But this is the problem. It's the reason we still have Windows and iOS. It's so entrenched, we can't start over. Oracle didn't really care about Java, but they bought it not because they thought this is the great programming language, which it is, but they said, oh, look at all these patents. I remember talking to the CEO of Sun at the time, and he said, I'll never forget going into the conference room at Oracle, and all the Oracle lawyers are sitting there rubbing their hands with glee about getting a hold of Java. And, of course, one of the very first things Oracle did when they got a hold of Java is they sued Google, and they said, oh, you wrote your operating system based on our language. You never licensed that. And Google said, we didn't have to. The Java didn't require. Well, you owe us some of the profits from Android. You know how much that would be. And Google said no, and this fight's been going on for 10 years. In fact, the Supreme Court just agreed to finally review it. It's gone to the Supreme Court once before over a technicality, but now the Supreme Court's actually going to review this Oracle versus Google case over Java. So that's the reason Fuchsia exists, because Google's saying, well, maybe we Android's all over. It's job. We better get rid of this and start over from scratch with something else, something we own, a language we own. Anyway, I feel like the universe, well, it's inevitable, right? It's inevitable. You build a house 100 years later, you got to rebuild it. You go downtown, 100-year-old buildings, they're getting torn down for brand new skyscrapers, right? Maybe it's time in the tech industry we start to take stock and say, it's been a while now. It's been a few decades. Maybe it's time to start thinking about how entropy's worn away some of this stuff, what we've learned, and maybe start from new, from scratch. I bring this up only because we're all suffering, and I just want you to know why we're suffering, why your iPhone doesn't work as well as it used to, and your Windows machine seems to have bugs. And this morning I put some software on my Macintosh, my brand new Mac laptop, and now it won't boot. Why is that? Well, entropy, my friends. It's an inevitable physical constant. The whole universe is running down. The watchmaker wound us up, and now tick-tock, tick-tock, it's winding down. And it's happening in technology too. But the beauty part of technology is we can rewrite. We can start over. I wonder if people will, or if we'll just kind of labor on, trying to fix the wagons, patch the holes. She's the unbreakable Kimmy Schaffer, our phone angel, answering all your calls. And you know what? Tammy don't take no Schaffer. Hello, Kimmy.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
So,
yeah, good talk.
Good talk. I got nothing.
I think we both feel that way this morning.
I got nothing. Good talk.
Hey, there's another sports ball game on later on today.
Sports ball. We do care about that.
We're going to be
Can I tell you a little
sidetracked
secret?
by. Yes, you can tell me.
You knew
a secret.
this, but I'll tell the folks at home. Last week was a very exciting football game.
Even John, who I don't think is much
He's
of
not
a
sport ball fan. Most geeks.
He went home for lunch and watched the end of the game and was super excited when he got back.
Yeah. So it was a very close game for our San Francisco 49ers at the very end. We were losing at the very end. Mm-hmm. As you know, somebody caught a hand egg and ran down the field.
His name is Kittle. Yeah. Kittle caught the hand egg.
Caught the hand egg, ran down the field. I'm in the middle. Now, this is what people at home don't know. If you go back and look at the video, you'll see it. I'm in the middle of answering a question. I'm taking a call.
And you're doing this.
And you saw it, didn't you? I'm jumping up and down. I am making silent scream sounds. And all the time going, yes, that's, tell me more. And I don't know. I guess it can now it can be told.
Well,
did you spill your coffee?
I did.
Okay. That was a good reenactment of what happened.
And yesterday you were, I believe, on with Scott Wilkinson, not listening to a word he was saying, trying to set up Samuel L. Jackson on your Amazon thing.
Look at these things, these backstage things. These are a little secret between you and me. These are not to be
not anymore
revealed. Yeah, I made, you want to hear Samuel L. Jackson?
Yes, I do.
Hey, Sam, what's the weather today? First, I'm sorry. Computer, ask Sam what the weather is. Now,
unlike stupid ass decisions, you can't ignore it.
Oh, wait a minute.
He's a little bit profane.
Stop.
I don't know if
I turned on the explicit one. Stop now. Did he say a bad word? I couldn't.
He said ass. You can say that.
I'm sorry. Wow, I forgot when I got home I turned on explicit Samuel L. Jackson. He said the bad word. Not a really, really bad word, but we're very lucky. We're very lucky that he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I've got the naughty weather on my phone, and it's a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
And I have it in an Irish accent.
I completely forgot. So you can now make your Amazon Echo device talk in Samuel L. Jackson's voice. It's 99 cents. You have to, I think you say, hey, Echo, introduce me to Samuel L. Jackson, something like that. And
well, during the break, I want to hear some more. But right now, I think we actually need to get to a caller.
He was talking about a donkey, I want to just say. Yes, let's take a caller.
Let's go to Dave in Crystal River, Florida.
I see my career flashing before my eyes. Hello, Dave. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Gee whiz, I'm sort of puritanical, but I'd like to have heard that particular question. I don't even have it.
Oh, you should have seen me leap for that button. Holy cow. Holy cow.
I happened to hear your online deal with the show yesterday, and that was sort of interesting. I guess I have to go out and get Echo now or something. Okay, my ham calls AL7HG for your info, but my computer knowledge is totally limited, to put it mildly.
Actually, it's funny because a lot of ham radio, amateur radio is really analog, was for, the first 100 years analog. But lately it's really become very digital, and a lot of digital technologies, as you well know, like EchoNet, are very popular with hams. So things are happening in the ham world.
In fact, I have a ICOM radio, and of course it's basically the digital radio, and they really just slap a front cover on the radio.
I know.
And it's totally...
It's what they call software-defined radio. Yeah, I have one too. It's kind of neat. But what can I do? What can I do for you?
Well, with more and more virus and ransom threats, that sort of thing, I'm trying to increase the security on my Windows 10. I've got Windows 10 Dell PC. And number one, I think I heard you say on one of your shows that really Windows, yeah, that's a good one. Windows Defender, you said, was good enough, and don't mess around with this other stuff.
Yeah, I don't. I no longer recommend using an antivirus unless you're really, like, if you have a teenager downloading random stuff from the internet, maybe having a second antivirus is useful. But the one that comes with Windows 10, or I prefer Windows 10. I like that. The one that comes with Windows 10 is fine. It does everything you need it to do without slowing you down. In fact, Microsoft's doing some really interesting things with Defender to make it even more secure. So I think you should just stick with it.
Huh. Okay, that sounds good. Now, just for the knowledge of it, as far as I emailed the virus guys, Total AV and whatnot.
Don't use anything else. Yeah, these guys, a lot of them are in the Ukraine. A lot of them, it's not worth it. You've got what you need. That's it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think that I'll give you my spiel because I have some pretty, I think, good reasons for not doing it, Dave. And so I'll give you my spiel. The problem with anytime you put any program on your computer, any additional program on your computer, you're putting it at risk. If those programs have flaws, then you're adding those flaws to your computer. So that's problem number one. And in fact, we've seen this before with both McAfee and Symantec, two of the biggest antiviruses. Flaws in the way they were coded allowed bad guys into your computer. So they did the exact opposite of what a security program should do. So that's problem one. Anytime you install any software, you should install a minimal amount of software on your system anyway. Only the stuff you really need. And anytime you install anything extra, it adds that extra potential for a flaw. With an antivirus, it's worse because antiviruses, to do their job, have to operate at a system level. So they're worse than user applications. And furthermore, they very often slow down your machine and cause incompatibilities. A lot of times people will call me and say, I can't get on the internet, and it's their security software, things like that. There's a secondary problem, which is as soon as you install it, a lot of people go, I'm safe, and stop being careful. The most important thing you can do is not having antivirus software, but being careful, not downloading software from strange places, being really judicious about what you install, being extremely judicious about what links you click on in your email, on Facebook, on a web browser, and keeping everything up to date, including your web browser. And so that kind of sometimes goes by the wayside. And even the best antiviruses, even if they aren't security flaws, even if you don't get overconfident, only catch at best half of the viruses, and none of them catch the latest viruses. So it's a false sense of security. I just think it's not worth the negatives, especially when you've got an antivirus on your system that comes with Windows that Microsoft did a very good job with, and every test is absolutely as good as the top-of-the-line security software. Really, what you do is more important than anything else.
Okay, sounds great. Well, luckily, I paid for a year in advance, but since I've been having all this trouble, they said, "Well, we'll
good.
We'll refund it." So
it was Total AV's not bad. That's the one you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean,
I also have a program of theirs which seems to work fine. Is what the heck's the name of it? Windows. It's ransomware type thing, and so it'll stop that.
Yeah, nothing will. That's the problem. And so then you go, "Oh, I'm safe." The only thing that'll stop ransomware is not, being very careful about phishing emails, because that's how they get in your system.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And that's why, cities like New Orleans just shut down because of ransomware, because employees are not as careful. And if it's spear phishing, those attacks usually will come directly to employees' inbox and pretend to be from their manager or their boss. So employees are much more likely to open them. That you can't prevent. If you could. The problem with Total AV is a lot of false positives. It's not 100% accurate. And you're having problems with installing it. So I think it's time to say goodbye to Total AV. I have to run because guess who's next? Sam Abuelsamid.
Hello, Leo.
Car guy. Hello, Sam. How's tricks?
Going good.
What do you want? What is that?
How about yourself?
You? Are those spark plugs? What are those behind you?
Those are dampers, or also known as shock absorbers.
Oh, shock absorbers.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Is that what we're going to talk about today?
We are, in fact, really fancy shock absorbers.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
I wish I had a shock absorber for Samuel L. Jackson. Hold on just a sec. Sam Abuelsamid is a principal researcher at Navigant Research. He is also a car podcast guru at wheelbearings.media, and he joins us every week. And this week, what are those things behind you? What's going on?
Those are our shock absorbers, or more generically, dampers. And they're an important part of your car. And in the past, they've traditionally been pretty basic. I mean, what a damper does is it absorbs energy. My understanding is it's like a hydraulic piston. And that's exactly what it is.
You compress the oil or whatever liquid's in there as you bounce along on the highway, and it kind of dampens the bumps.
Yeah, if you didn't have dampers in your car, as you go down the road, every time you hit a bump or a pothole or something, the spring would, absorb that, and then you'd be bouncing up and down, which would be very uncomfortable. And it takes a while for it to settle down.
All you have to do is look at those old movies of Model Ts bouncing down the road.
Exactly.
You'll know exactly.
Or, if you're as old as I am, if you were around driving in the 70s or 80s, you probably remember cars with worn out shocks that, every time you hit a little bump,
bottom out.
You'd be floating around. And so what dampers do, the basic idea of a damper or a shock absorber, at least modern ones, and you can also do mechanical dampers, but, hydraulic dampers like we use in cars now, you have a piston that goes up and down in a tube filled with oil. And, that gives it some resistance. And, the faster you try to push it through the oil, the more it soaks up that energy from the motion, the vertical motion of your wheels and the body of your car, and it helps it settle down.
Not exactly a high-tech solution. It's fairly simple, but I think a very good innovation, much better than springs. Yeah.
But they have gotten much more high-tech. Well, they're not necessarily better than springs. They have to work in conjunction with springs.
You still have springs. Okay.
You still have springs. So, the springs actually, they give you that initial ability for the wheel to move up and down as you go down the road. And the dampers, then minimize that motion, and get it to settle down quickly. Otherwise, you'd get into this oscillation that would tend to make you throw up very quickly. So, dampers have gotten more sophisticated over the years. Starting somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s, we started to get what were known as adaptive damper systems. And traditional dampers, they basically, however they were set up from the factory, that's the way they were, and they had limited range of control. What happened in the late 80s, early 90s, we started to get adaptive damper systems, because there's actually the piston that moves through the oil has some holes in it and different orifices to allow the oil to flow through it. And by changing the size of those orifices or the orientation, you can control how much damping effect you have. Well, adaptive dampers could adjust some of those parts inside the damper, and so if you're on a smooth road, you can soften it up a little bit and have more of a gliding ride, have more comfortable ride, and then when things get a little more active, you can tighten it up. And those are good, and there's a lot of cars that use those today. It gives you better balance of handling capability and ride comfort. But there's another kind of damper that is even more sophisticated than that. And the reason I bring it up this week is last week or earlier this week, GM showed off the next generation of their full-size SUVs, the Chevy Suburban and Tahoe, and we're going to see the GMC Yukon and the Cadillac Escalade over the next couple of months. But one of the options they have on the Suburban and Tahoe is what are known as MagneRide dampers, or MR dampers. And these were actually invented by GM back in the 1980s, and sometime in the 90s they sold off the technology to a Chinese company. But that company still sells these MagneRide dampers. And one of the first production applications was on a Ferrari. And Ferrari's used them on a number of models over the years, and they're used by a bunch of different manufacturers now. And the cool thing about these is, traditional dampers just have a regular hydraulic oil in there, and depending on the viscosity of the oil, how thick it is, you'd get different characteristics. Well, with MagneRide dampers, they use what's known as a magnetorheological fluid, or an MR fluid. And what that has is it has magnetic particles suspended in the oil. And then when you apply a magnetic field to that, those magnetic particles, the iron particles basically, can align themselves, and it changes the viscosity of that fluid, changes how thick the fluid is. So you can go from a thin, watery fluid to a really thick, almost solid material. And so you now have infinitely variable control over that viscosity and the characteristics of that damper. So now you can have a damper that is computer controlled, can change almost instantaneously from a really soft damper for a plush, comfortable ride to, as soon as you start going through corners and, faster and you want better handling, it stiffens up right away. So it gives you much better control, much better body control. So it's a really cool technology. And if you ever have a chance to drive a car that, with conventional dampers and then have the same car with MR dampers or MagneRide dampers, the ride quality is so much better. You have that, so much less compromised. You have that really plush ride and, great handling capability.
That's nice. So is this something we can expect in other manufacturers' cars too?
Oh yeah. There's a whole bunch of cars on the road now that offer them. They've been around. The first production examples came out somewhere around early 2000s. And, so you can get them on a bunch of different vehicles now from a bunch of different brands. Audi has some. Ferrari, as I mentioned, was one of the first. Ford uses them on some vehicles. GM uses them on a bunch of different vehicles. So there's quite a few different vehicles out there. So if you ever have the option, when you're buying a car, if they offer MagneRide dampers as an option, it's definitely something you should take for a test drive and see what you think. But they're not, they're usually about maybe $1,000 option or sometimes less than that, but they work really well.
Another high-tech feature I never even noticed.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's one of
when
those things that you don't think about until you experience it.
When you read reviews of cars, and I don't pay attention to this, but a lot of times the reviewers will talk about the stiffness of the ride and handling and how a sports suspension is tuned one way. And even on some modern cars now, you can do a setting in the car, dynamic versus sporty versus. Is that changing the dampening?
Yeah, that's usually when you have a sport mode like that. That's usually one of the things that they're changing. They're usually changing the damping rates. So they'll usually have either a magnet ride or some sort of adaptive damper system, and they'll adjust that. And then also usually the steering as well is
stiffer
another
steering
thing
if you want it more sport.
Yeah,
honestly,
steering.
I play with it. I can't tell the difference. Is it?
Yeah, on some cars they don't. The change is not as dramatic as it is on others, so it varies.
I never noticed on my Audi or my Tesla a difference at all. So
okay,
I just put it in automatic. You figure it out.
Yeah,
I guess I'm not that kind of driver. I just want to get from point A to point B in my car,
and that's what that's the case for most people. I mean that's why the best selling cars. Are cars like Toyota Camrys and Corollas and Honda Civics that are fairly basic, that they're reliable, get you from one place to another.
That's all I need. Sam Abuelsamid, you're who I need. He is our car guy. We're going to go down to CES and get a tour of all the car stuff. There's a lot of it at the Consumer Electronics Show. You're going to show me the new electric Ford, too, the Mach-E Mustang. I can't wait. And, of course, you can catch Sam's Car Talk at Wheelbearings.media. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. They don't believe me when I say I just want to get from point A to point B. They said, you own a Tesla. I would like a chicken Caesar, no croutons, please. Thank you.
Make that 2, please.
Yeah, and one for Sam. We'll send it to Detroit. Actually, he's getting it. If I were you, I'd be going to Greektown every day. I love the food in Greektown.
Yeah, we go down there sometimes.
The flaming cheese, the spanakopita,
there's
Greek
lots of good
salad.
stuff there.
Oh, man, I love everything there. So Greektown's still a thing. I'm glad to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been to Detroit in probably 8 years, 9 years, something like that. We went out. Yeah, we went to Dearborn.
There's actually, if you come over here one of these days for a visit, I'll take you to some really good restaurants in Detroit now.
Good.
Not just in Greektown, but all over downtown and Midtown. There's a lot of new places that have opened up in the last
I love
few
it.
years.
Detroit's having a renaissance. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
No, we're going to try really hard since I'm buying this Mach-E to get Ford back as a sponsor because I think that they need to reach out to tech enthusiasts to talk about this car.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, so if we do...
I expect they probably will be doing some of that.
I think so. And I think our friend Alan is still there, and so in the PR.
Alan Hall?
Yeah.
Alan has actually moved over to Argo AI.
Oh.
So he's communications manager at Argo now. Argo does the autonomous driving system that Ford's developing.
It was Alan Hall.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But I can hook you up with other people.
When we're at CES, we'll go over and say hi. Yeah, I used to know Alan Hall and Alan Mullally. We'd always get the interview and stuff, and it was nice because we had great contacts at Ford. But
I talk to Alan all the time.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, I didn't know he moved over. That's great. Good for him.
Yeah, a few months ago, but 5 or 6 months ago, he moved over to Argo. So he's still here in Dearborn. His wife still works in Ford Communications.
Nice. Yeah. I'm going to call his wife then. Hey, thank you, Sam. I'll talk to you next week. And we'll see you in Vegas. I'm so excited.
All right. Yeah, it's going to be some cool stuff there.
It's going to be great. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, the Tesla was a great way to get from point A to point B. No emissions, no visits to the gas station. I did, Dr. Mom. I just got him to swear on the radio. Computer, ask Sam what the weather's like.
That's some non-committal right there. In Petaluma, it's 54 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun. Today, you can look for partly sunny weather with a high of 57 degrees and a low of 34 degrees.
What is non-committal about asking?
I know. It's just random insults, I think. It's pretty funny. Computer, ask Sam to tell me a joke.
Why'd the store stop selling boomerangs? Too many returns.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that's a dad joke. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. We're talking about high-tech stuff. Although it is getting a little tarnished and rusty, isn't it? That's one of the things as we get ready for the final Star Wars movie, the 9th movie in the trilogy of trilogies. That's one of the things I liked about the initial Star Wars was how grimy and grungy everything was. It wasn't science fiction, clean science fiction. Best science fiction to me is like it shows the world as it probably will look, where there's rust and dirt and grime and so forth, Blade Runner. And then they made Princess Amidala's spaceship. You remember that? It was a teardrop that was perfectly reflective, shiny, like the bean in Chicago, just beautiful. Actually, my friend Alex Lindsay worked on that. That's a lot of work to do that, by the way. He worked on the specular highlights. That was his thing. David in New York City. Hello, David. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Leo, big fan.
Thank you, David.
In Harlem here, we are very confused about why Ultra HD Amazon stuff.
What's happening? You mean the music?
Well, yeah, the Ultra HD that they spend the extra few dollars
Yeah.
getting the high-res music.
Yeah.
But what can we listen to it on? I got the new Sonos that says it doesn't get it. My headphones don't get it. My 55-year-old ears don't get it. So what's happening?
So Amazon Music HD, which is an interesting play by Amazon. They're in a very competitive space, right? They've got Apple and Spotify and Google, and there's a lot of competition for this streaming music play. So Amazon, I thought, did a smart thing. They said, well, what if we so all the streaming music is going to be compressed. It has to be compressed. But what if we offered people who would have enough bandwidth, uncompressed, essentially CD quality music? And in some cases, if we have a recording that's even better than CD quality, what if we offered them that? And we can charge them a few bucks more a month for it. And they call it Amazon Music HD. In fact, Ultra HD, which you were talking about, is even better than in theory, even better than CD quality. 24-bit up to 192 kilohertz. That's those audiophile recordings you buy. But can
we actually hear it?
No. So you could. So first of all, the bit rate on Ultra HD is 3 megabits a second. So it will take a lot more down. It's 10 times more download than it would be just for the standard definition, which is 320 kilobits per second. The middle of ground, which is CD quality. And by the way, you'll notice when you play back music on Amazon, it tells you what you're getting. Most of it's high def, which is CD quality. And that's 850 kilobits per second. So that's not... that's doable for a lot of people. I think it's Amazon acknowledging that people have more bandwidth. But if you're using Bluetooth to get it, it's not going to happen. Sonos speakers are probably, because they're over Wi-Fi, they're probably getting the HD quality. I don't know if you'll notice the difference. There was a service, I think it's still around, called Tidal that does CD quality. There's other, Deezer offered it too. This has been around in other services. Your best quality would be on an Ethernet hardwired network plugged into a good quality stereo receiver that could decode it properly. So that means, and obviously the stereo receiver has to have the ability to play back streaming music. Many do now, and have to have Amazon Music HD, and it would have to have the HD capability, and then headphones or good speakers plugged into that. You might hear the difference. People tell me they hear the difference. You and I are too old probably to hear the difference. I'll be honest.
So are we wasting our money?
That's an interesting question, and this is actually a larger conversation. For a while, Neil Young, who's been a big proponent of high resolution music, that's the generic term for this. He said, look, the way we hear it in the studio is how we mix it, how we, that's how we hear it when we play it in a concert. That's how we want you to hear it. And the idea of music reproduction is to get as close to that live sound as possible. And that's more than just all the bits. It's the sound stage. It's how it feels. The instruments are around you. You're in the concert hall or even in the middle of the band listening to it. And so he was on a crusade. I interviewed him. He was on a crusade to get people to listen to better quality music. He'd drive around in his electric Lincoln. He had an electrified Lincoln, and he'd play this higher quality music for musicians and they'd go, "Wow, man!" In fact, there's, he'd take videos and put them up on the internet. This is how I hear it. I wish we could hear it like this. And he is right. The music that we've been listening to, in many cases, is not only over compressed, but you're listening to it on a device like your smartphone that can't really do very well with it, and worse of all, on things like Apple's earbud headphones, or even worse, that just don't reproduce music well. And so Neil was right. I think there's a whole generation growing up listening to poorly reproduced music. But then on the other side of it, there's people will quote something called the Nyquist theorem, which says that if you get 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz recordings, that's what a CD is. If you go better than that, there's no more information in it. If you think you hear it sounds better, that's your imagination, and there is a huge component of that. It sounds better because I paid more money for it. And I think people, especially like you and me with older ears, may not notice the difference. I'll tell you, if you know what to look for, you might. It's not that it sounds suddenly clearer necessarily or better. The sound stage might be more open. The highs might be, sometimes they use the phrase airier. It's hard to describe, and it almost takes somebody teaching you to hear it. But even then, there's a lot of golden ear stuff. Well, I have $1,000 magnetic planar headphones from Hi-Fi Man, and they do sound better to me. The sound stage is better. It's more open. It's hard to describe, but it sounds less compressed. Even and I have hearing loss, but that's not the point. Even I with hearing loss can hear it. It sounds better. And you can EQ to make up for hearing loss. It doesn't mean you've lost the ability to detect things like spatialness and stuff. But
you can hear difference between the 320 and the Ultra HD in any of those headphones?
No. Because as soon as it's streaming, you're really going to lose some quality anyway. So yeah, I think for most people buying, it's only, I think, what, $7 a month more? It's not a huge amount more.
Yeah. If you're a member, it's $8 a month, and then they charge you 12 or something.
Yeah. So, but you're right. If you can't tell, so what you're telling me is you've listened to it and it doesn't do anything for you. And by the way, they give you a very generous 3 months to try it. So.
Yeah, they did. But on my Sonos, my ears make believe it sounds better.
That's the problem. There's a huge psychological component, right? You think it sounds better because you paid more. It's the same story with people buying these golden cables. I paid $1,000 for my speaker wires. They must sound better. No. In fact,
there's no real place to understand any of this stuff. I'm so confused.
There isn't, and I feel very fortunate that I was able to spend an hour with Neil Young and have him describe it to me, and so I think we should just be jealous of musicians because they get to sit in the band and they hear it. And every real musician I've ever talked to, including Scott Wilkinson, says you can never in a reproduced, in a music reproduction, get that experience. And frankly, he says, I don't listen to a lot of music, especially streaming music, because I know what it's supposed to sound like. I've been in the band, and I hear that from musicians a lot. So, which is all to say, yeah, save the $7 or $8. It probably isn't going to make that much of a difference. If you hear it and you like it, go ahead. I kept it, but I also kept it with the full knowledge that it's probably an imaginary benefit. This is a big, long conversation, which I've had over and over again with many people. But I think the bottom line is we probably aren't hearing the difference. I had a Mustang 5.0 GT. I don't ever want another gas car. In fact, I hate it that I'm driving a gas car right now. But as soon as the lease runs out at the end of the year, that's when I'm going to get that Mustang Mach-E. I like electric. I love electric vehicles. In many, many ways. That's true. What happens, Reverb Mike, is the tow truck comes with a big battery and plugs you in and charges you up enough to get to the charging station. Gasoline's a terrible idea. Once you drive an electric vehicle, it's like hard to go back, to be honest with you. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. We were talking before the break about high-quality music, and Amazon has this new Amazon HD music system that, you know, I pay for it $8 a month. I can't really tell the difference, and I think on a lot of the things you're going to listen on, there isn't a difference. It's just in principle seems like a good idea. I'm an idiot. Even saying it out loud makes me sound like an idiot. But there is, and somebody in the chat room, Maverick56 says, is it me or do the Apple TV shows look much better than Netflix? And it's analogous. It's not audio difference, it's a video difference. And it is true. It isn't just you. But there are some services, Apple TV Plus is one of them, that are sending better quality streaming video, 4K, HDR. If you have a TV that can handle it, a 4K TV with the capability of doing what they call high dynamic range, you will absolutely see a difference. Same thing with Disney Plus. Both of these new streaming services have decided to opt for higher quality. And it's the same thing Amazon's doing. What people are realizing is that not everybody, unfortunately, but many people in the U.S. have more bandwidth than we used to. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. You remember if you had 10 megabits down, you felt pretty good. That's fast. I mean, I'm old enough. I remember going from a 56 kilobit per second modem to my first, I called it broadband line, which was ISDN. That was 128 kilobits, more than twice as fast, and that felt mighty fast. But in the intervening 20 years, we're starting to download bigger and bigger files, rich media. In those days, I was downloading a shareware program that was 4 megabytes. Wow, this came in it was almost instant. Wow, that's amazing. But we're downloading a lot bigger files these days. But even not so long ago, maybe even you're in this situation where having a 10 megabit down and 1 megabit up was pretty common. Nowadays, with many providers, you're getting closer to 100 megabits down. So with all of that bandwidth, it's possible for companies like Apple and Disney to say, well, let's check the bandwidth. What are we getting? All right, they can adapt. Let's send the best possible signal. And the best possible signal they can send is now better than the best possible signal for some other services. Netflix was the first to offer 4K and HDR. If you watch Stranger Things, it's in 4K HDR. And in fact, you could tell that they knew it was going to be because and this is true of the Apple TV shows too, if you see a lot of scenes in dark, dark rooms with bright, bright lights, that's to show off HDR. And I don't know if you remember Stranger Things, but when one of the characters, the girl who was able to do telekinesis and stuff, she was a number, right? 42, whatever. When she went into the beyond, it was often a water-filled, darkened room where other people were very brightly lit, including her. And I swear that was totally put in there to show off the HDR, the water reflecting the light, the black water reflecting the light, the dark, dark corners of that room, the super bright lit. I mean, and she was even wearing white clothes, so it's even brighter. That's what HDR is. It's high dynamic range, means the difference between the darkest portions of the screen and the brightest portions of the screen is maximized. And and very important, that the blacks are really good in black, not what we call crushed. And sometimes in streaming, you'll see that. If you have a continuous color, whether it's a blue sky or a black background, the compression will create artifacts in that. And you'll see bands of color. So instead of a solid blue sky with gradients, smooth gradients from light to dark, you'll see a dark band, then a lighter band, then a lighter band. You can actually see the bands, and that's the compression doing that. And when you have a lower bit rate, you're going to see more of that because you're going to have to use more intense compression. All the video sent to by streaming services, all the audio sent by streaming services is of necessity compressed. It's really how much compression you're using, what technology you're using, and I wouldn't be surprised if, in fact, I'm sure of it, Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus are using higher quality codecs, so they're not compressing as much, and even with the compression that they use, the quality, the result is better. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Using H.265 and some other adaptive codecs that are designed for this, you're going to get a better result. So that's, yes, it's not your imagination. Okay, I'm sorry. Phoenix Warp says I'm butchering Stranger Things. I know. I don't remember the deets. I haven't watched it in a while. But you get the idea. 8888 asks Leo. So it is true that because we have more bandwidth, services are starting to offer higher bandwidth opportunities. Whether you'll notice the difference depends a lot on the equipment you're using to receive it and your eyes and ears, obviously. Old Chef Guy, up the road a piece in Sonoma. Hello, Old Chef Guy.
Greetings, sir. I have so many questions, so many possibilities, but I'm going to stick with what I was calling about. I have been a Pixel user since the original, whatever that clicky, weird pop-out keyboardy thing. I always forget what model that was.
Was it the G1, I think? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And so this last time, I switched over to S10, which I like very much.
Yes, they're very nice.
Samsung S10, very nice. However, I kind of hate the OS.
Yeah.
Because they mess it up just enough to piss me off regularly.
Yeah, so this is the problem. The only pure Android experience comes from Google. The next purest comes from OnePlus, and I think you could argue that the 7 Pro is the best Android phone out right now. I think you can make a strong argument for that. Samsung, it used to, with TouchWiz, that's what the name was that they used for their version of Android, really used to junk it up. I think with the, it started probably even earlier, but certainly with the S10 and the Note 10, they have a much lighter touch. They don't call it TouchWiz anymore. I think it's One UI. But it's still different. In some cases, different in a good way. For instance, Samsung, and I've mentioned this before, if you go deep in the sound settings, has something called Adapt Sound. They'll do a hearing test and then adapt the audio coming off of your phone to match your hearing capabilities. That's great, and it's not part of standard Android. So there are things that Samsung's doing. But I have to say, if you're used to Android, you're like Android, or like you've used Google's Android for years, it's going to, you're going to say, this is weird. And some might even say chunked up. I mean, things like Bixby do not enhance the experience, I think.
Oh, don't even get me started on the Bixby button.
That's Samsung's unique.
I would be like Samuel Jackson. I'm going to be like Samuel Jackson.
No, please don't.
Snakes on a plane. Any second.
When the Pixel 4 came out, the reviews were so negative. Even my friend Ron Amadio, who writes for Ars Technica, the worst negative review, and I think unjustified. I think the Pixel 4 is a great phone. A lot of the criticism is on price, but it's not more expensive than Samsung's top of the line or Apple's top of the line. These are flagship phones, and they're all about, ranging around $1,000 now. I agree that's way too much. But if you're going to spend $1,000 for an S10, I think $1,000 for a Pixel 4 is not unreasonable. The Pixel 4 XL is a beautiful screen, 90 hertz refresh rate, which Samsung does not do. And it's got some, the UI is something that you will be right at home with because it's, it's Android 10, pure Android 10. But I even think there's features. They're starting to do something called, I think, Pixel Push, where every quarter they're going to add new features to this. And that's something I think kind of nice. I like the Pixel 4. Yeah, and I have the orange one.
I'm very attracted to it, and if they would just, one of my reasons that I went to this S10, I didn't need this much, but it was an option. I got a half a terabyte of storage.
Right.
I'd like 256.
I bought, and I'm embarrassed to admit, the terabyte version.
I know, I saw that.
I have never come close to filling it up. I can't even fill up half a terabyte. That's putting every song I own on the phone, and I still can't fill it up. So.
No, I just got it because it was a possibility, but I would like 256. That's just because. And Pixel won't give me that. That's the only reason I switched. I love my Pixel phones. There was nothing about them I did not like.
Well, doesn't I think the 4XL offers a 256 gig, doesn't it? Maybe not. I like you. I usually buy the maximum amount of memory on it because the worst thing is to start, running out of memory on a phone.
Yeah, that's what happened with my Pixel 2 XL.
Yeah,
got close, and it was really annoying.
And it's fairly cheap for these manufacturers to put more in. I don't really understand why they're being so funny. Let me just look at. I thought I had 256 in mine. So,
I'm glad you talked about the OnePlus 7 Pro because that was the one I'm thinking about jumping to because I can get 256 on that.
Yeah. You know what, if you want a pure experience, it's not exactly, but the Oxygen OS that OnePlus uses is very good. They're keeping it up to date in a timely fashion. I think there's some nice features. I think it's an excellent phone. The only thing you're not going to get, the camera's not quite as good as on the S10 or the Pixel 4.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah, and I have to say, I love the Pixel cameras. Man, they do a good job.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I kept my 2XL because I still use it as a camera.
I'm looking to see. You're right. I think 128 is the max on the Pixel 4. That's and they don't put an SD card in there, which Samsung does. That's baffling to me. That's one reason I guess Ron Amadio didn't like the Pixel 4. Not enough storage. I've survived. I just don't put as many, songs and books and movies on. I don't watch movies on my phone, so I don't have to worry about that.
I don't watch movies. I listen to a lot of stuff. And
I have
along the coast.
A dozen audiobooks on there and music. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I download everything to the phone, so I don't have to worry when I'm in Point Reyes about no bandwidth.
Right. It is a shame it doesn't have a expandable storage. That seems like the minimum. Google doesn't like it for some reason, and they lost the headphone jack, which
don't. That's another snakes on the plane.
Right, snakes on a plane, baby. There's the rumor that in 2021, not next year, but the year after, Apple will abandon even the charging port. That will then I will stop buying iPhones because you got to have that. Yeah, look at the OnePlus. I think the OnePlus 7 Pro is a fantastic phone. It's got a funny little selfie cam that goes up. The camera's not bad by any means. Look at the camera reviews. I think that Google's juice, its mojo, its super secret sauce that they do with their camera really gives it some benefits. Even better than Samsung. Good to talk to you, old chef guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Call on me if you've got a question or a suggestion. PJ is in Butler, PA. Hello, PJ.
Hello, Leo. Second-time caller. Good to talk to you again.
Welcome back.
Just a couple of basic questions. I have a Windows 10 desktop, and this has to do with folders. Now, whether I would go in, looking for a specific folder, whether it's picture folder or document, I'll go in there, and let's say I'm looking for a specific one. I'll scroll down, I'll find the folder, and then it'll stay there maybe for about 5 or 6 seconds, and then it jumps back to the top again.
How annoying is that?
Yeah, what kind of an issue is going on here? Any ideas?
No idea. You're in this is a Windows 10 File Explorer you're doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the search pulls up the folder. You open it. Do you open the folder or you?
Yeah. I open the folder and I see all my folders. And let's say my folder is, maybe down the 5th row or something. I find it and I open it up and there's all the pictures or whatnot. And I'll find a specific picture, whatever. And then after about 5 or 6 seconds, then it'll flip back to the first line of folders. So
I know what's
crazy.
Going on. Yeah, I've seen this. This is what the computer's doing. It's a little bit annoying. You can turn this feature off, so what it's doing, because it knows it's a photo folder, it's displaying thumbnails, but it's not saving those thumbnails in a cache. So every time you open that folder, it has to generate all the photo thumbnails again. And so what's happening is, in fact, if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'd probably see a bunch of blank icons where the thumbnails have yet to be generated. So what's happening, if you let that folder sit, and I don't know how long it's going to take. It'll depend on how fast your drive is, how fast your computer is. But if you let it sit for, go have a cup of tea, and come back, it will have generated all the thumbnails. And at that point, your scrolling will be reliable. You'll be able to scroll to something and it'll stay there. But what's happening is you've scrolled to the photo. It is then continuing to build the rest of the list. And as it does that, it makes the list longer, which then means you're jumping up to the top of the list. You can turn it off, but in order to turn it off, you'd have to turn off the thumbnail display feature. You'd have to say, don't treat this as a special folder, and I think you probably want that. Mm-hmm. You might you might check your sorting on the folder, because somebody in the chat room is saying, what if he sorted by last used or last accessed? Maybe the folder's resorting itself. So that might also be what's going on. So make sure the sorting is by capture date. Okay,
so then you have that green line that goes across the top. Is that how it's loading? Does that have anything to do with it?
Yeah, you see that? That's a progress bar, a very thin.
Okay.
Yeah, that's telling you what's going on. And as the folder's loading, that line progresses to the right, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so once it's all the way over, you shouldn't have this behavior.
Oh, okay. So I just need to be more patient, I guess.
No, or I get a faster computer, or Windows needs to be faster. If you can also, and this might speed things up, Retro G saying you can change the size of the icons. If you make it the smallest possible option, it'll do that faster. It's generating large thumbnails, and so the thumbnails, the bigger the thumbnail, the longer it takes to generate it. So smaller thumbnail might help, at least in the generation speed. This is just a process because you're viewing as thumbnails, and unless you turn that off, I don't know of a way to speed it up. That, or make smaller folders would be another way. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I want to show you something. It's DigitalOcean. DO is my favorite place to go for me for learning. But if you are a programmer or a software developer, if you're a startup, DigitalOcean is a really remarkable tool that has kind of changed the ecosystem when it comes to getting what we call a minimum viable product up and running, to provisioning a server. I use it because I'm learning web technologies. So if I want to, learn Node.js or set up a blog or Mastodon, it's the easiest way to do it. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform, which is optimized to make managing and scaling apps easy. It's got a great intuitive API, all sorts of options, including storage, CPU. You can have integrated firewalls, load balancing. 1 million developers trust it, and I want to show you why. If in the normal course of events, if I were going to go out and get a server, I'd call them up, order the server. They'd say, call us back in a week. We'll let you know when it's provisioned. Watch how quickly I can provision a server. Look, these are all the one-button provisions. I'm doing some Python. I want a server with the Django Python framework running. A public server, by the way, if you want, or private. You can get CPU optimized, memory optimized. You could choose how much you pay, and I'm a cheapskate, so I always start with $5 a month. But as your minimum viable product becomes the most popular kid in town, you can scale that up. All of this is scalable. I use SSH keys to log in. I always like to have that $1 a month automatic backup. Now watch. I'm going to actually provision this server running Ubuntu with the Django framework on it. It'll have a public IP address. I'll be able to use it right now. I can console log in. I'll have root access. This is amazing. CloudBees, Docker, GitLab, Node.js, Ruby on Rails, LAMP stacks, whatever you need. DigitalOcean offers simple, predictable pricing. You'll always know what you pay per month with a flat, industry-leading price structure. And what do you get? You get it all. They've got great world-class support 24/7 every day of the year, monitoring and alerts, a 99.99% uptime SLA. If it's a team, you've got a company, they've got team accounts, complete DNS management, global data centers. I always choose the one nearest me, but there are data centers all over the world. And 55 seconds to provision a server. Are you ready? In 3, 2, 1. My Django server with a public IP address is ready to run. I can even log in and get console access. And I've got root access to it right away. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. It's DigitalOcean. And right now, if you sign up at do.co/twit, you'll get a free $50 credit. DigitalOcean, designed for developers, built for business. do.co/twit, your free $50 credit. This is the most amazing way. And look, I've been using it for all sorts of stuff. My bill's $5. With that $50 credit, that'll go a long way. do.co/twit. Trusted by businesses, loved by developers. DigitalOcean. Chris Marquardt in the Viewfinder Villa.
Hey, how is everything with you?
It's great. Again, I am walking the walk of shame because I did not submit to our photo assignment. I always think, I have time. This month we were looking for people to take pictures illustrating the word or concept hot. Did you get some hot pictures?
Oh, we got a lot of hot pictures. We have 31 hot pictures.
Wow.
And as usual, I've chosen 3 of them, and we'll look at them now.
Nice.
So it was a tough choice. Really good stuff. Lots of fire-related stuff, and that's kind of the theme I want to stay with here. There's also one of hot peppers and a dog that's too hot. So it's got its tongue out.
This is fun.
So let's begin with the first one that I chose, and it's by Blue Sky Over Aquatic, with the speaking title DSCF 2005.
Darn it! You got to name these kids.
Yeah, so
I've learned my lesson. I don't post on Flickr because I'm worried you'll see it unless I have a title.
So what has Blue Sky Over Aquatic taken a picture of? It's what would you call this? A dish, a fire dish?
Yeah, a fire pit. Sometimes we call
a fire
them.
pit kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
you have
looks
it
like
outside so you stay warm in the cold winter evenings. Yeah,
looks like some lava rocks in there, or maybe it's coal or wood, maybe charcoal, and it's a fairly simple picture, a bit of a longer exposure time. We're looking at, I think, 2 seconds. Yep.
I like that because the flames get softened. You don't see individual flames. You get kind of a...
That's what happens. What also happens, and this is really difficult to get right with fire, is that parts of the fire are kind of really overexposed. If you look at the lower part of the flames, it's over. Well, that's just something that happens. One thing I don't trust the EXIF data on is the aperture, though, because we have these tiny lights on top, lots of point light sources, and they all have turned into little stars. They all have a really nice star pattern, and that would point to a very small aperture having been used, a high aperture number. But the EXIF data here says f1, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think the Fuji X-T20 actually can do f1.
Must be f11, right?
Well, or something, but it's definitely not f1 because with a smaller aperture, with a higher aperture number, you will get these kind of starburst things around point light sources.
So I thought maybe he was using a special filter to do that, but no.
I don't think so. No, that's aperture plates that we see there. That's very typical.
I love
very
that book.
very nice, very beautiful little star shapes. Kind of a Christmassy feeling. So
very nice.
Very good. Second one is one that jumped at me straight from the thumbnail view with the table with all the photos on it. So what we're looking at is a wooden stove, something that you would cook on. So it has this round hole in it and a lid that's moved to the side. And then the outer part of it, the exterior, is dark, black, grayish. And then, but the interior, the place where the fire sits, is warm and hot. So we have this visual difference between the cooler and the hotter part. We also have this beautiful frame that really draws us to the fire. So again, some overexposure on the fire, which again is hard to avoid. It takes some technique to get that right, but it doesn't really matter
it's
because
gorgeous. You really get the heat.
You can feel the heat on this one. You can really feel the heat on that one.
I really like, and you've mentioned this before, the combination of, it's kind of like blue and gold, the coldness of something on the blue side and then warmth of something on the gold side. And it's a great contrast.
Even though I don't think the stove would be cool to the touch.
No,
I wouldn't try.
It's probably hot, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those old wood-burning stoves. It's beautiful. Very
but
nice.
Visually, you have this difference. We have something similar in the third picture that I chose, and that's by Gregory Chesney. Title: I Need to Vent. JPEG.
See, that's a good title for this.
It is. What we're looking at, it looks like a harbor, a port of sorts, some industry. You see a city in the background, and the central element in this photo is it's a vent that has some gas being burnt off, and that sometimes you see that in industry settings. And it's interesting how I can really feel the time of day in this picture. It's not bright during the daytime. It's more dusk or dawn kind of setting. I would think it's probably in the evening, because the way the fire moves to the side suggests there's some wind, and usually you have more wind in the evening than in the morning. So in the morning, I would expect the flame to be more straight. I like how you get this amazing sense of depth in the photo. And it's not just because some things are further away and smaller, but can you see how the contrast goes away and how the things towards the background go bluer and bluer the further away they are?
Yeah.
So you have that depth. And the only really warm thing in the photo that's also bright is that flame, and it kind of pulls you in. And it's also nicely framed, by the way, because that empty sky that is in front of, there's no distraction behind the flame. It's just the sky, and it works. It really works for me. Initially, I didn't really notice it too much, especially from the smaller thumbnail. But then when I looked at it, it grew on me quite quickly.
And it's a whole category of photography, industrial photography, where you're getting pictures of what would, I think normally this is at Brooklyn, we're thinking it's a little industrial, it's normally maybe ugly. And when you find the beauty in it, it really pops. And I think it's a whole category of photography that I find very interesting. Pictures of, kind of grimy industrial areas, and then their beauty is still there. It's really kind of neat.
So speaking of industrial, we have a new assignment. And as usual, I asked the people on Flickr where we post these pictures. We have a little thread there, and it's after H, next letter in the alphabet is I. And we had several people making suggestions, and the one I chose from those suggestions is by user Digit50D. And the next assignment is industrial.
Oh, well, there we go. Speak of the devil, industrial.
There we go.
Again, we let you interpret this any way you want, and it is not there's no prize. It's not a competition. It's really an excuse to go out and take pictures over the next 4 weeks. But I think, I'll let you do whatever you want industrial, but I just like the idea of finding beauty in grimy industrial settings. I think is a really fun thing. So maybe that's something. That might be what I do, and leave the rest to your imagination. Here's how you participate. We have a Flickr group. Flickr's free. You don't have to pay anything to join it. It's a great place to share your photography. I put a lot of my photos up there. I know so does Chris. And we have a Tech Guy group there, which has, 30,000 members or something. It's huge.
It's a big group.
You can join the group and then submit. And all we ask is that you tag it TG for Tech Guy Industrial. All one word, TG Industrial. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will welcome you to the group if you haven't joined before. We'll accept your submission. You can submit up to 1 photo a week, so you get to submit 4. And sometime in the next month, Chris will come back and we'll do another photo review. Your assignment, industrial. You'll find Chris Marquardt at his website, discoverthetopfloor.com. Great photo workshops. His Tips from the Top Floor podcast is there as well. And of course, great photography. Thank you, Chris. Nice. I really love that stove shot. That's beautiful.
Yeah, there's something about all of them, and lots of good photos.
Nice. I'm so glad people participate in this.
I love that people can choose the assignment. I love those suggestions coming in. Makes my job so much easier.
Lisa and I decided that we wait till we travel to break out our cameras. So we're just gonna start going at least weekly on a walk. and doing some photos. And I've started bringing, where is it? Started bringing my camera with me and the monopod.
Oh, why not?
I like having the monopod. I don't know why. I feel like I can fend off attackers or something.
And you can use it as a selfie stick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I could, couldn't I? Yeah, I could go like that. Yeah.
It's gonna be a bit heavy.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd trigger it. I guess I'd.
You should start vlogging. That's a new fad.
Vlogging with selfie sticks?
Of course.
Well, we're gonna bring this is I love this selfie stick. It's a Gitzo. It's really nice. But we're gonna bring this to CES. I think this is how we're gonna shoot CES. And I got Sony now makes a digital shotgun mic to go on top, and it works quite well.
Oh yeah,
the audio's really good.
I heard a review of that. It's pretty decent. Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm gonna have to try it before we bring it to CES. But if the audio could, and I'm gonna. This is a 24 millimeter. I'll keep it pretty wide so I can get in close, and I think the audio will be all right.
That sounds fun. Yeah. The microphone does a lot of processing, so
yeah.
Should be decent in that environment.
As long as they let me in with my stick.
Well,
I'm gonna telescope it before I try to get in. Then they'll think, oh, it's just he's just got a little stick.
Yeah, you're a vlogger.
Pocket. I'm a vlogger. I am a vlogger.
You are, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't call it a vlog, but I am. I love this camera, and Lisa's using my A9 now, so we're both. It's nice to be on the same
you
system.
got rid of that one now.
No, the A9 is Lisa's. The A7R4 is mine. And because we're using the same system now, we can share batteries, lenses, all that stuff.
See, that's the good thing with Monica and myself, that we are not on the same system. I'm shooting Canon, she shoots Nikon.
She can't touch your lenses.
We never fight over, because we love the same kind of focal length, so we never fight over lenses. There's no way we can fight, and that's really helpful.
We don't fight, but like when we went out the last night, she said, I need a nice prime, nice fast prime. I said, I have just the thing for you. I have my Zeiss 50, which is a beautiful 1.4.
And that was the last time you've seen that lens.
I may never see it again.
Yeah.
It's a really nice lens. I really like it. But I love this 24. It's small, so relatively, so it doesn't make the camera too big, and it's great quality. So, and it goes down to 1.4 as well. So, all right, Chris.
All right.
Have a great week.
Let me just check. I'll be here next week. I'll have to take a break on the 29th because I'll be on the Chaos Communication Congress.
There's no show then anyway, so that's fine. That is
fine.
Yeah.
I should be back on the 5th. Yeah.
Good. We'll see you on the 5th.
You too?
Well, we'll see you next week.
No.
And then we'll take
2 you next week
off.
And then on the 5th.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Chris. Take care. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo. The phone number, the website where we put everything, including links to all those images Chris was talking about. I know it's a little weird to talk about pictures on the radio, but I enjoy it anyway. Those images are available at the website, and it's free, no sign up. TechGuyLabs.com. TechGuyLabs.com. On we go with the show, and Darcy, who's in Winnipeg. How's the winter in Winnipeg treating you, Darcy?
Well, tonight is minus 34 Fahrenheit, so as long as you're bundled up, you're okay.
Oh, my God. You get to 40, then we don't have to make the conversion anymore.
Yeah, I might never leave my house at that point.
Oh, boy. Minus 34. What does that feel like?
Yeah, you need a car starter. You need to make sure your car's started. We plug in our cars with block heaters.
Right.
And you just hold your breath.
Yeah, you can't breathe. It's painful to breathe. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, I don't think I've ever experienced anything that cold. That's wild. Well, stay warm inside. What can I do for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay. So I've been, I've been a fan of you since G4 and Tech TV got together, and I was a little kid.
Nice.
I'm 30 now, and
nice.
That's pretty cool. And we actually cruised by on a road trip. We went to Vegas, LA, San Francisco. It's really nice where you are.
So nice to meet you again, then. Yeah.
And until then, we just had a baby, and she's about 3 weeks and 1 day old at this point.
Congratulations. Is this your first?
yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but we're making it work.
Yeah, no, I remember very well. The at first it's like, what the?
There's 2 points of scared for me. One is making sure she's healthy.
Yes.
2 is the tech involved with everything baby.
Yeah, it's a whole new world, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done a lot of looking around, and nothing really seems to help. I'm looking for baby monitors in specific. I did listen to your Security Now. That was a long time ago. It's an archived one about, there's no real secure store-bought.
That's not true.
Baby monitors.
That's really not true. The problem is you really want to get a baby monitor from a good company that will keep it up to date. And, this story broke this week about the Ring cameras, which Amazon makes. That's a big, reliable, well-known company. And you might have seen it. It's been all over the news everywhere. In particular, about one 8-year-old girl who her mom had a night shift. She was a nurse, and she put a camera in her bedroom so that she could keep an eye on her when she's sleeping, make sure she's okay. And most of these cameras are like baby monitors. They have microphones and speakers as well. And somebody hacked it and pretended to be Santa Claus. And this poor 8-year-old girl just got freaked out. But the important point on this story was not that the Ring camera was unreliable or unsafe. It's fine. It was that the mom, when she set it up, either used the default password or maybe more likely did put a password on it, but one she had used many times before, possibly even on a site that has since been breached. The Marriott was breached. 500 million records went out. If you use the same password to log into your Marriott account and then used it on that camera, it's not hard for bad guys to match the email address, if you use the same email address, and then search for cameras and then try that password. Hey, I got their password from the Marriott thing. Let's see if it works. Reused passwords, especially on something like this, very bad idea. So you're smart enough. You've been listening for 30 years. You're smart enough to know that you're going to use a good, long, strong password. You're going to buy something that allows two-factor authentication. And when we're talking about the password, it's not the password. The camera itself doesn't have a password, but the app does, right? And so when you use the app to log in, you want to make sure that it's a good password to log into that app. And if you can, use two-factor, and that's going to stop any attacks like that. You also want something.
We were almost thinking one that's not connected to the internet, like just has a parent unit, with a limited range.
That's all we had when I was a new dad, because they didn't really have the internet in the 50s. No, it wasn't that long ago. But we didn't have an internet-connected one. We just had one that broadcast on I think it was 800 megahertz band. Now, the problem with that is there wasn't much security in those either, so anybody who was within radio distance could hear the monitor. I think the newer ones, because they have cameras and because you can check the baby anywhere, anytime, I think I wouldn't shy away from them. And I'll tell you where the reviews, I always look at the Wirecutter, which is a really good review site. They pick the Eufy Space View. Now, EUFY, I don't know if I would call them a first-tier manufacturer, but they liked it for a lot of reasons. The other one they said that's also great, and it looks like a cute little bunny, that's what the baby will see, is the Arlo baby, and that is by a well-known company. Arlo is the brand name for, I want to say, Linksys. And they're great. And they say the Arlo's image quality is great. The smartphone access is appealing. This monitor is harder to use than options without a Wi-Fi connection. I'm not sure what that means, but I think it means you have to set up the Wi-Fi. It's the best Wi-Fi equipped.
Maybe it's for like a basic user, I suppose.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You can set up the Wi-Fi. And VTech is another company that's been around, but I would trust Arlo more than I would trust. I'm not sure about the Eufy. They like the Eufy a lot. Read the Wirecutter reviews. There's nothing wrong with, they know what they're doing and they have good recommendations. But honestly, I think I'd probably go with the Arlo if you're going to choose.
Okay.
Netgear. I'm sorry, they're not Linksys. They're Netgear. Netgear's a good company. They're going to keep it up to date. And so you don't. That's a particularly designed for babies. It even looks, like I said, looks like the camera's inside a bunny. I don't know if the baby cares about that.
It's a cuter version of hell.
Yeah. In a way, I think that's creepier, don't you? To have that little red eye inside a bunny.
I'm leery about any cameras pointed inside. Like we have the Nest camera system for everything outside.
It's pretty nice to have a camera. I mean, all we had was the audio, and you'd put the baby to bed, you put the baby monitor next to her, and then we'd go into the living room and watch TV or whatever. But we'd have that speaker on, so if she cried, we'd hear it. That was the main point of it. These with cameras, then you can see, as Abby got older, she learned how to climb out of her crib. That might have been a nice thing to know if she was doing that, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So as the kid gets older, some of those things are great. And of course, once she was a teenager and coming home after midnight, then I like to have a doorbell camera for that. Eventually, you get cameras everywhere. I have mixed feelings about camera in the house. We don't have. Well, I should say we didn't have cameras in the house until I got the Google Nest Home Hub Max, which has a camera built in. And every time I walk by it, it goes, "Hello, Leo," which is that's a little creepy. I understand your reluctance to do that. I think that's probably smart. But for a baby monitor, having a camera, I think that's a nice convenience.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's just the Internet of Things, so I just want to make sure I have a secure step forward.
I don't think Steve, our security guy, as paranoid as he is even saying don't use IoT devices. Just get them from reliable companies, well-known companies that will keep them up to date. You want them to have the capability of over-the-air updates if the case they find a security flaw, and then it's up to you to make sure you secure it with a strong password and two-factor. If you really want to go crazy, putting it on a separate network, I don't do that. I think that's overkill. But that's another way to make
lazy,
it.
So.
Yeah, I'm lazy too. Hey, congratulations. That's wonderful. You have a great excuse to stay inside all winter now, Darcy. It's good talking to you.
I'll try.
What's her name?
Okay, bye.
What's her name? The baby.
Sorry, it's Madeline.
Madeline. What a great name. Welcome, Madeline. You're going to be growing up in a very interesting world. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you want to talk high tech, I'd love to talk about it with you. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. A nice little tip from our chat room from Pixstructions, who is a coder. In fact, he has an iOS app called Pixstructions. We talked to him on the show a while ago. He found an issue with Windows 10 and its cache, its thumbnail cache for photo folders. And he found a way around it that involves wiping out the cache and having Windows 10 rebuild it. And apparently that would speed things up. So I am going to point you to our website, techguylabs.com. Our caller was having trouble because he'd open a photo folder, and by the time he found the photo and looked at it, it would scroll up again as it continued to build the rest of the folder. So there is a way apparently to fix that so that Windows 10 properly caches those thumbnails. So it only has to do it the first time you open the folder, and subsequent times it'll know, and it'll do it much more quickly. Always the way to do it. Caching is computer's best friend. Steve in Las Vegas, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thanks for hanging on, Steve.
Hello, Leo. I just want to say, first off, it's an honor to talk to you. My father admired you for many years, and I'm sure if he's listening from the heavens above, he'd be getting a real kick out of this. So
thank you.
Thank you for taking my call.
That's
my
really
pleasure,
nice.
Sir.
Thank you.
So I have the most interesting situation that's arose. It's my cell phone the other day. I received a text message from a person who I haven't spoken with in months, and that person said, "Nice picture, but who is this?" I'm like, "What? This is strange." So I know. So I'm looking, and all of a sudden, above her text, was a picture.
Uh-oh.
And I know for a fact I did not send this picture. So, of course, instantly I go online. I'm thinking, oh, my God, I got hacked. And then about 5 minutes later, I get another text saying, what is this picture from someone different? Now, the real kicker is this. Both of these people were ex-girlfriends. So, and
this does not sound good.
Not at all.
This does not sound good.
It's been months, and I did not want to establish this open line of communication again, and it happened. So I'm looking. I want to blame someone for this, and I don't know where to throw my blame. So I don't know if it's my phone, my carrier.
Yeah, first of all, it's someone who knows you. Might be a third ex-girlfriend. Does anybody else have this image?
No. This is in fact, I don't. The pictures are so old that I didn't even really remember them until I had to really look into them. Like, oh, okay, I remember this. I took a picture of dinner once and sent it to, but I don't know if I even sent these pictures.
So that's weird. They're random pictures. They're not incriminating or anything. They're just random. But they're clearly coming from your phone number, right? Because they respond, nice picture, who are you? And the response is going to your text messages.
Right.
Is it text messaging, by the way, that you're talking about here?
Yeah, all text messaging.
It's not WhatsApp or some other app. It's your phone's built-in text messaging.
Yes, it's the phone's built-in.
iPhone or Android, just out of curiosity?
Android. It's a Samsung 7.
Okay. And you're using a Samsung's Messages app or are you using Hangouts or some other app?
It's Samsung's
Samsung's app.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there are a couple of possibilities here. The one that's most scary is actually something that happens. It's called SIM jacking. And the way SIM jacking works is somebody calls your carrier. In order for this to work, by the way, they need to know at least your cell phone number. They call your carrier. They need to know your name and your cell phone number. And they say, hey, how you doing? This is Steve. And I lost my phone. I need a new SIM. Can you, or something, some story, some fakaka story. Can you send me a new one? And then the goal of the bad guy who's doing this is to trick the customer service rep at your phone carrier to send the SIM not to you but to his address. Now when he has that SIM, he could put that in a phone and suddenly he's you. And he can pose as you. This is why generally security experts will say don't use text messages for authentication. Most banks still do because it's convenient. But if you're a target, it's not such a big deal. It's not such a hard thing to do. Hackers do it all the time. Just happened, by the way, to the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. His Twitter account, was hijacked with exactly this technique.
Wow.
Yeah, by the Chuckling Squad is the name of the hacking group. And they basically went to his carrier, said, this is Jack. I need a new SIM card, and got it somehow, talked him into it. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Now, whoever's doing this knows you, because they need to know your name, they need to know your current cell phone, and they obviously need to have that picture, those old pictures. I would look for an ex or somebody who's got an axe to grind. And somebody with some skills, because this is not it's called social engineering. It's not a technically difficult thing to do. It's a socially difficult. Because the hack is to persuade the customer service rep that they're you.
Okay.
A lot of hackers are very good at social engineering. My friend Kevin Mitnick, who was jailed for hacking some years ago and is now a white hat, wrote a whole book about social engineering. It's a real art, and it involves, they're very good at it, acting and all sorts of tricks. And remember, a customer service rep is a customer service rep. Their service is their middle name, and so they want to be good to you. And if they really think it's you, they're going to help you. The trick then is for the bad guy to convince them they're you. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is possible is that somebody has somehow hacked your Samsung account. This might be more likely because if they can log into your Samsung account, it's likely some old pictures might be there, right? Samsung will back up photos in its gallery app. So maybe they have to have access to those pictures somehow. And once they're in your Samsung account, I'm not sure, but it's my guess they probably could send text messages as you using that same. Okay. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing Samsung has a web interface to text messaging on your Galaxy phone. That's just a guess. So those are the two conceivable ways this could happen. Is it a group? It's not a group message, right? It's just two-person message. Nobody else is on that message, right?
No, just two separate people.
Just two separate people. So I think boy, this is a tricky one to suss out. Change your Samsung password for sure on your Samsung account. I would do that immediately.
Okay.
It's a bigger process you don't want to change your phone number, right?
No.
You could call the phone company, and if you get you maybe ask for the security department and say, I think I might have been SIM jacked. That's the term for this, SIM jack, like hijacking your SIM card. Say, I think I might have been SIM jacked. Here's what happened. And if you get somebody smart, they can go through and say, well, let me look at the records. Oh, yeah, we sent your SIM card to somebody else, or we gave somebody access to your phone number, that kind of thing. They'll have a record of that.
I see. Okay. So then this isn't necessarily a Sprint thing or necessarily a Samsung phone thing. It's someone who just may have somehow SIM jacked me, and now I'm just...
Yeah. And I think it would have to be somebody who knows you or knows enough about you. The worst kinds of attacks, the ones where we're most vulnerable, are targeted attacks. Because if somebody knows your name, phone number, they know something about you, they can make those attacks much more effective. They're posing as you in text messaging, right?
Yeah.
And they knew enough, by the way, this gets more complicated. They knew enough to know these former girlfriends' numbers.
Yeah, and that's what made me suspect it may have been a third person, because that third person has went through my phone before and taken pictures with her phone of my ex-girlfriend, so it gets really crazy.
Yeah. This is almost always, by the way, it is an ex.
Yeah.
Those are the people who have both means and motive.
That's the truth.
They have the information they need, and they may well have the motive to hurt you. So you could call if that's the case, it may not be a SIM jacking. She may have access to your account in some other fashion, and you sounds like you kind of have an idea who this could be. And that's when this happens. That's the thing: is who has the means and who has the motive? Isn't that what Hercule Poirot always said in the Agatha Christie novels? The three things: means, motive, and opportunity. And if somebody has all three, then they're your prime suspect. The opportunity is the thing we don't know. We know this ex presumably has the means and the motive, but how did she get the opportunity to do this? I would call your carrier just to make sure. Maybe it's not quite so sophisticated if somebody had access to your phone. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Anyway, blessings to your dad. It was great to talk to you, Steve. Thank you for listening and for calling in. I hope I helped a little bit. The podcast today brought to you by my browser, my favorite browser, Brave. The land of the free and the home of the Brave browser. That's this right here. Brave is a next-generation web browser built around freedom. Freedom from trackers, freedom from ads, freedom from privacy invasions of all kind. And you know what? It turns out when you cut out all that junk, your browser gets faster, up to 6 times faster than the competition. Brave is pioneering a better internet with privacy by default. And because Brave is based on Chrome, it's familiar, works exactly as you expect it to. You can even install Chrome extensions, although I notice I don't have to add all the ad blocker and privacy protections I used to because it's just built right in to Brave. Unmatched speed, online privacy that blocks trackers, a better user experience. Oh, I forgot the best part. It's free. You can run more than one browser on your system, whether it's Mac, Windows, Android, or iOS, even Linux. And so you don't have to get rid of your old browser, but definitely download Brave and do it at brave.com/twit and give it a try. I think you'll stop using all those other browsers. It is so great. All the convenience, all the compatibility of Chrome, but none of the googly privacy invasions. Brave's easy to use. It's easy to set up. It's quick. One click. All your bookmarks are imported, so you can quickly switch browsers, make your default browser Brave. You'll be saving battery life. Yes, on mobile, you'll reduce your data costs as well. I just think it's fantastic. And Brave Sync means that your bookmarks are kept in sync on Brave everywhere all the time. And done so, by the way, in a very nice, secure way. Their model is fantastic. Now, there's one issue I have, my wife really has. We're an ad-supported network. And so when I say ad blocking, sometimes I get a little twinge of guilt. Maybe you do too, going to a site like The Verge or imore.com that you read all the time, but you're not seeing the ads. Yeah, it loads faster. It's more secure. I like it, but they're not getting paid. Brave has a great solution for that. They call them the basic attention tokens. It improves your privacy, makes you more secure, load times are faster, and it still gives publishers back their fair share of web revenue. Here's how it works. You can buy BAT tokens with cash if you want, or you can opt in, and this is completely optional, all of this. In fact, everything on Brave, go to the settings and you'll see all the things, and you turn on what you like and don't turn on what you don't like. But if you want, you can opt into Brave ads. These are privacy-respecting ads. They don't sit on the web page. They don't take over the web page. They're just little notifications that pop up, and if you click them, you can find out what the product or service is. There's a lot of great ones, including some of our own sponsors who are on there. By doing that, you're earning BAT tokens. So then you can parcel those out to the sites you visit. So that way, you can reward these publishers. They still get paid, but you don't get the ads, and that's the best part. I just think Brave is fantastic. I think you will too. Real private browsing too, by the way. You know, when you do the incognito mode on Safari or the private browsing on Chrome, that doesn't hide what you're doing from your ISP, from the company that made the browser, from the company that runs the hardware. All it does is turns off cookies. That's not private browsing. That's crazy. Turns off the history. Okay. Brave has real private browsing, a private window that includes Tor, so you are completely anonymous to your ISP, to Brave, to the advertisers, to the sites you visit. It's real private browsing. Another reason I love Brave. You can download Brave right now. If you do me a favor, you're supporting the Tech Guy podcast if you go to this special URL, brave.com/twit. I know, you can Google Brave and go right there, but do me a favor, go to brave.com/twit. That way we'll get credit, and you'll get the best browser out today. They keep it up to date. They keep it secure. They take out all the Google dumbness and only leave in the Google goodness. Yesterday was about big tech. Today is about us. Brave.com/twit. I use it on every platform, including the iPhone. It's just the best way to surf the internet. Brave.com/twit. And now back to the podcast. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, I haven't heard that in a long time. How fun is that? Dave in Redondo Beach, California. Leo Laporte here. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I am well. Welcome.
Well, long-time podcast listener and first-time caller.
Thank you. We do a bunch of podcasts for true geeks at twit.tv. You must be a true geek.
Well, so my handle here is the Laptop Elf.
Yeah. Oh, are you? I got your email. I think I did.
You did. Great.
You do laptops for seniors.
So I do tech help for seniors.
Tech helps.
Home.
Yeah.
I borrowed your expression, anything with a chip in it, because that pretty much defines it. But a spin-off of that is I collect working but unwanted laptops, wipe the hard drive, reinstall those, and I give them to teachers and low-income families.
I am so pleased to meet you. I haven't responded to your email yet. I just saw it this morning, but I think that is so great. I'm so glad you do that, David. What a great contribution you're making. And it's fun, right?
And it's fun. It's very rewarding. I have learned a lot. You know, before I started doing this, I wasn't willing to take apart the guts of the laptop I used every day, but I've been given about 400 laptops, so no problem digging into it. And about 250 of them have, proved to be working. And I've given them, like I said, to teachers and low-income families.
This is such a good thing to do because, we're throwing out technology that's perfectly good because we're getting the new thing or whatever. And what a great use of it to give it to somebody who can't afford it, who can definitely use it. Do you have a website, David, or something we can refer people to?
So I have a Facebook page as the Laptop Elf Project, and I have a special email address just for the project, the Laptop Elf Project @gmail.com. Haven't set up a web page yet, but
that's fine. Laptop Elf Project. If you're on Facebook, go to the Laptop Elf Project. You'll find it right away. And if you want to email, Is it the Laptop Elf Project at Gmail or no the?
Yeah, with a V.
With a V.
Laptop Elf Project at gmail.com.
THE Laptop Elf ELF Project at gmail.com. What a great thing to do. And I bet you there's a lot of people in the Southland who would say, well, I got a couple of laptops. I'd love to give it to David. That's nice.
Fantastic. You know, what would even be better is if more people like me who like to tinker with hardware would just go search in their neighborhoods for unwanted laptops. Because the need is everywhere.
Yeah, everybody's got one or two computers lying around that they don't use. A lot of people do. And for those who don't, this is a great gift. Well, thank you for doing that, Laptop Elf.
Thank you, Leo. It's great. One couple quick tips. So I get a lot of old Windows XP and Windows Vista laptops.
Of course you do.
So on those, I just wipe the hard drive and put on Linux. The Linux distro called Q4OS, not real well known, but it has installed on every beat-up old laptop I've thrown in there.
Nice. I'm not familiar with Q4OS. I'll have to take a look at it.
It's obscure. It's pretty simple. But all the teachers want is just the Chromium browser because they've got Google Docs, Sheets.
So in a way, even though it's Linux and it's a full operating system, you're kind of turning it into a Chromebook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So teachers sometimes have Chromebooks, maybe only a few of them for a whole classroom, but the kids know how to use the Chrome browser. It works.
So this is a version of Linux, which is a free operating system that I love. It's based on Debian. It comes out of Germany. I had not heard of this before. It's very classic, very straightforward for somebody who has used Windows. It looks very Windows-like. Q4OS, and I think for your point of view, the most beneficial part of it is it works out of the box on a lot of the old hardware you're getting.
Yeah, Wi-Fi drivers, video drivers, I've had very few problems.
Nice.
Less than a handful.
Nice.
In fact, I've got a WinVista laptop that was given me this morning, so after I wipe the hard drive, Q4OS is going on, and it'll be in the teacher's hands early next week.
What's great is it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to buy a license to Windows or Macintosh or anything. It's just a free operating system. It's very robust, very secure, and I guess it's running Chrome out of the box, so the teachers know exactly how to use it. That's all they need. That's great. That's great.
Yep, exactly.
I'm impressed.
So the ones that I get that are running that were shipped originally with Windows 7 or higher, teacher wants, I've been able to upgrade them to Windows 10 without a problem as long as I have the product key.
That's the latest news, that Microsoft never turned that off. And if anybody's worried about January 14th, when the last update for your Windows 7 machine, you probably can upgrade that. You don't even need a code if you have 7 installed and authorized on that machine. Now you can upgrade on top of it to Windows 10. That's I think Microsoft's probably just saying, look, we'd rather have you on a safe, secure, modern operating system than get that $130. Good for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. And those machines run sweet. And of course, security software built in. I load LibreOffice for teachers.
Perfect. You got a full Office suite on there. Well, I am so glad to talk to you, David. Thank you for what you're doing. The Laptop Elf Project at gmail.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number to call the Tech Guy Show. Another half hour to go before we wrap things up. I will be here next weekend. So if you've got last-minute buying crises for the geek in your life, I can help you, or for yourself. We'll do a best of the weekend after Christmas, and then be back in January. And as I mentioned, I'm going to Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show. Won't do the radio show from there because it's midweek. So I'll be leaving right after the radio show on Sunday, getting back on Friday before the radio show. But I'll be bringing back with me a Santa's bag worth of gizmos and gadgets and goodies. We're going to meet a lot of our regulars out there. Dick DiBartolo, who's famous for finding crazy kind of gadgety things. He's going to meet us in the basement of the Sands Expo Center, where all the companies from China and elsewhere come with the craziest, nuttiest stuff. He'll show us some of that. Sam Abuelsamid, our car guy, is going to take us through the North Hall where all the car and automotive stuff is. Scott Wilkinson is going to take me to the home theater expo in the Central Hall. That thing, man, all the big companies are there with the newest TVs, newest technologies. And I'll talk about that, of course, on the show the following weekend. I guess I will be we'll be doing our CES wrap-up show on January 11th and 12th. And if you're really interested, I kind of want to make it a virtual tour of CES, going to CES without facing the madness that is 180,000 geeks descending on Las Vegas all at the same time. We're going to make videos for our podcast network. So we'll have Aunt Pruitt and I are going to go down there. We're going to call it Aunt and Leo's Excellent CES Adventure. We're going to go down with a camera and do a bunch of short little segments on all the cool products we find. And those will be available at our website, our podcast website, twit.tv. So I'll remind you that when we get back. It's going to be a lot of fun. In other words, I'll be here next week. That's the short version. Mark, Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Mark. Hello, Mark. Oh, maybe it's not Mark yet. Mark's, hold on a second. It's Dave in Ridgecrest. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome.
Hey, I don't know how you do all the stuff you do.
Tell you a little secret, Dave. I don't know either.
Well, I'm 88, and sometimes I wonder about all this news.
Oh, man. That's awesome, Dave.
Well, in some ways.
Hey, it beats the alternative. That's what my wife keeps telling me.
Yeah. Anyway, courtesy of my grandkids and daughter and some of the other people, I am operating on a Mac Mini as of my birthday. And
how nice!
I'm really not that happy about it, but I had to spend another couple of $100 to get peripherals for it.
Gosh darn it! They gave me a Mac Mini, but forgot to give me the keyboard, mouse, and monitor.
Well, they got most of it. Anyway, my current problem is that I have running Firefox.
Okay, good browser.
And on my favorites, I have a folder called weather info or weather data or something like that.
Yeah.
And I have accrued a whole list of different weather sites that I want to check on every once in a while.
Fun.
And 3 of them were linked to Ridgecrest.
Okay.
And one of them was a Yahoo. And I liked it because I was able to customize it to do some of my other links for me.
That's nice. So you pull up the link and all the things, the stuff you want to see is right there. It's like a weather dashboard.
Yeah, right. Anyway, the other day I went to that link and it came up with some kind of a Yahoo window and it said, the window you want is not available or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, I was able to find it eventually somehow, and I don't really know how, and it came back up as Delta Canada.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got confused about your location, it sounds like.
And I don't know, I didn't even know there was a Delta Canada, but most of the data is there, except that it's been changed a little bit.
To some other location? So you're not getting Ridgecrest weather anymore, you're getting Delta's weather. Is that right?
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, it's up in British Columbia.
Well, no, that's not quite true either. It's my weather.
Oh.
But it's coming out of that Delta Canada. And I am thoroughly confused because I went back. I heard you talking about backup. I have Time Machine, and I'm not sure I really know how to recover stuff.
No, that's not the problem at all. You don't need to run Time Machine.
Yeah.
Something went wrong. Look, this is kind of in the nature of the beast. The web is an imperfect, at best, imperfect vessel. So what I would suggest, it sounds like, so first of all, Yahoo is part of the problem. Yahoo got bought by Verizon. And ever since downhill, my friend, just downhill. Verizon is slowly selling off bits and pieces of it because they can't figure out what to do with it. They wasted basically billions of dollars on buying this and don't know how to do it. And maybe the Yahoo Weather app is being changed, or maybe your link got damaged. Your browser tries its best to figure out where you are. So if you just go to, let's say, weather.com, or I'll tell you, my favorite weather site you might enjoy is Dark Sky. I really like Dark Sky. I think that's the best. So if you go to darksky.net, when you first pull it up, it'll show a random location. Actually, for right now, it's showing me downtown New York City, probably the default location. But you can use the browser's location feature to say, no, I'm in Ridgecrest. So I'm looking at it where it says Broadway, New York, New York. To the left of that, there's a little button that says location. As soon as I hit that, if you use Firefox, it'll pop up and say, oh, do you want Dark Sky to access your location? And you can say yes. And I would say yes in this case, allow location access. And then when I do that, Firefox goes out, looks at my IP address. There's a lot of information it can gather to try to figure out where I am. In this case, it did it correctly, and it shows me the weather in our town.
Right.
So that's one possibility, is that the location information is incorrect if you're using automatic location information. Now, most of these sites, I don't know about the Yahoo site, but try darksky.net. It will let you.
I will do that.
Yeah, it's the best site. I mean, you like information, you will love it. By the way, I've talked to meteorologists, and I used to use Yahoo Weather. They said, please don't. It's the worst. Almost all weather sites get their information in the U.S. from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. And that weather information is then interpreted by the site. That's why you'll get different, predictions, because their interpretations may vary. But really, it's the NOAA information. There are other weather. Many other nations have weather. There's a very good one in Norway. You would think, well, is it going to have Ridgecrest weather? Yes, it has worldwide weather. That's met.no. That's an excellent one. NOAA itself is very good, but I would try Dark Sky. I think they do a very good job. Use the automatic location, but if you're finding that inaccurate, you can say, I want to do Ridgecrest, and it'll give you Ridgecrest. So I think it's just that the link got messed up, frankly. Could be Yahoo itself, because they're disintegrating, didn't do it. Just stop using Yahoo anyway, and get that link right. I happen to like darksky.net. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thank you for letting me do this show. Thank you to Lady Laura, our musical director, for spinning the discs. Thank you to the fabulous Kim Schaffer for taking your calls. And thanks to all of you who called in and all of you who listened. We couldn't do it without you. You're the most important part of this show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Now we're going to say hi to Mark in Los Angeles. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome.
Am I on now?
You are on. I apologize. I pushed the wrong button moments ago.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
For Motorola, right?
Yeah.
They use Nova.
So Motorola was an American company. Lenovo. So let me give you the history of Motorola. They were an American company, the first company to make a walk-around cell phone. There's a very famous ad. In fact, I interviewed the engineer who did it. Very famous ad of a guy walking down the streets of New York holding one of those giant phones. Remember, they were huge, and you had to have a shoulder pack for the battery. That was a Motorola invention. So they invented the portable cell phone, the cell service. They were in Chicago for the longest time. Google bought the phone division of Motorola.
Okay, but
Google owned it for a while and then said, never mind, and sold it to Lenovo, a Chinese company.
Yeah.
That's who owns them now.
Okay.
Despite the all-American name, Motorola, it's a Chinese company.
Yes. That was my main question. Now, because they bought them, where are we at?
Well, when they bought them, they didn't touch the American-based, Chicago-based team. They said, we're going to let them continue to develop phones. But it's very similar. Lenovo also bought another classic American institution, the IBM ThinkPad brand. That was IBM's laptop brand. And some years ago, Lenovo bought that as well. They have been fairly good stewards of both brands, Motorola and ThinkPad. About a year ago, they did close down the Chicago offices, and Motorola phones are now designed in China. But you know what? It'd be hard. An iPhone is made in China. It'd be hard-pressed to get a phone that's not made in China. The only phones, well, you can get a Samsung. They're made in South Korea. The chips are often made in Taiwan, which is not China. That's the Republic of China. The phones are often assembled in a variety of places. Apple assembles its iPhones mostly in China, although to satisfy tariff requirements in Brazil and India, they have factories there. You may remember that Foxconn, the company that assembles the iPhone, made a big splash when they said they were going to build a U.S. plant, a multi-billion-dollar U.S. plant in Wisconsin. Nothing has happened there. They haven't even got permits yet. So,
well, hey Leo, I can tell you this: I got preempted on my radio, so I'm listening to you on iHeart.
Good.
Yeah. That's how I got in.
Is your concern about the Chinese company that makes it?
No. My concern is Motorola was always American, but if they gone China, then
this is kind of the way of the world. And by the way, I think Lenovo is a good company. They have some negative marks against them on their consumer laptops. Very notably, a few years ago, they put some malware. It was for copy protection called Snapfish.
I think I got hit by malware.
Yeah, so that was...
On the Moto 5, I got hit, and then nothing.
Well, to my knowledge, they have never done anything wrong with the Motorola phones. So it's easy enough to get malware on an Android device. I'm not going to promise you that you don't have malware, but it wasn't put there by Motorola. It's interesting. I noticed somebody in the chat room pointed out that they still have a mailing address at the West Merchandise Mart Plaza in Chicago, but I think I remember the engineering team anyway was moved from Chicago to China. We're in a kind of an interesting period right now. China is increasingly becoming an enemy. It's always been kind of ideologically an enemy because it's a authoritarian Chinese communist rule. So ideologically, there's always been an issue. I was a Chinese major in college. I've always been fascinated by the country, the culture, and not, I think, ideologically opposed to what they were doing because although it's authoritarian, they really did improve the standard of living for their people. And you have 1 billion people, many of whom were living really below the poverty line as peasants who've been brought up. And in my visits to China, I've been very impressed how the standard of living, even in the small villages, the peasant villages, has really been improved. But it's been at a cost. It's a very centralized government. And of late, it's become a much more authoritarian government. The president of China is now president for life. What they've done with the Muslim minority in China, the Uyghurs, is appalling and unacceptable. Of course, you've seen what they've been doing in Hong Kong as well. They also, of late, have become an economic threat because they don't seem to honor our intellectual property rights. So pretty much inevitably when something is invented, patented, and then manufactured in the U.S., it's stolen and immediately manufactured for less in China. But at the same time, a great many American companies, including Apple, have benefited by the manufacturing capabilities and the low cost of manufacturing in China. And that's why your iPhone, instead of costing $5,000, only costs a mere $1,000. Of course, we've had a trade war with China. That's kind of recently been a little bit settled. And then there's been some concern from the U.S. government our intelligence agencies and the Department of Commerce about industrial espionage from the Chinese. And the concern kind of came to a head with a company called Huawei, which is a Chinese electronics company that manufactures most of the 5G equipment used worldwide. They also make excellent laptops and excellent phones. And the U.S. government, a couple of years ago, recommended, this is under the Obama administration, recommended that the Department of Defense no longer buy equipment made by Huawei, another Chinese company called Xiaomi, and another Chinese company called ZTE, because they were afraid that the Chinese military either owned or influenced the management of these companies. So there was some real concern about that. In fact, you can't buy a Huawei phone in the United States. You can't buy Huawei laptops. And Huawei just recently announced, because of the tariffs that we've imposed on China, that they have made the first smartphone with 0 American parts. They call it an American-free phone. So this economic war has become more and more bitter. Despite we've somewhat settled the trade war. That's good news for Apple, because on December 15th, significant tariffs were supposed to go into place, and it looks like those won't anymore. But I think a lot of people are a little concerned. Should I use products designed and made in China? And I don't have a good answer for that. It was never shown that Huawei had some problems, including industrial espionage. As far as I could tell, they never put any spyware on their phones. But, we also use one of the biggest, fastest growing social networks among American teenagers right now is TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese company called Tencent. Recently, a U.S. government group called CFIUS, C-F-I-U-S, ruled, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States ruled that Grindr, which is a gay dating app, could not be owned by a Chinese company. They were worried about blackmail, and they forced them to divest Grindr. CFIUS is currently investigating TikTok. So we as consumers are kind of in a strange place. I don't know. You can't, if you're going to use an iPhone, you're using a phone made in China. Period. I don't know what the answer is. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. It's been a great day. I will see you next weekend. Thank you, Lady Laura. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.